If you have a dream, chase for it. Simulan mo nang abutin. Make it out there. Work and raise your family in Australia with AMVPS. Make your future bright with AMVPS. Ang migration, education, pangarap ay maabot na. AMVPS ang kasama mo. AMVPS, 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 AMVPS.
For inquiries, visit our website amvpsolutions.info and Facebook page Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions.
A dream. Everyone has it. Distractions are everywhere, which makes us feel far from our dreams. Now, there is a way to close that gap. With AMVPS, we can take the one less travel by, and that has made all the difference. Whether big or small, our dreams are there to take us to write our future. Be a scholar now. To learn more, visit our website at amvpsolutions.info. Like us on Facebook at Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions.
Good day, everyone. My name is Edmund Galvez, and I am the Registered Migration Agent of Aussie Migration Visa Professional Solutions. Today's information session will be talking about application for Australian citizenship by Conferral. Just last week, there was an announcement that the fees for the Australian citizenship application will increase in huge amount from 285 to 490 Australian dollars. And it will take effect on the 1st of July. And that's the reason why I made this video, so that somehow if you are eligible to apply today, you can still pay a lesser application fee for the Australian citizenship by Conferral. So I'll share to you my screen. So let's start our discussion. This is a short discussion about the requirements, particularly the residency requirement, the character requirement for the applicant. Now, what are the main criteria? So for the applicant be eligible, he must be a holder of a permanent resident visa. Now, there are two types of visas in Australia, the temporary visa and the permanent visas. Now, if you are a holder of a visitor visa or a student visa, then you cannot apply for Australian citizenship because that is not a permanent visa. Okay, so only those who are holders of permanent visa will be eligible for this application. If you are a permanent resident, then you are a holder of a permanent visa or a permanent resident visa. And the requirement is that at the time of the application and at the time of the decision, you must be a permanent resident or a permanent visa holder. Now, another requirement is that you must be inside Australia at the time of decision. Another requirement would be you have spent more of your time inside Australia and you have mingled with the Australian community, you have researched some history, culture, background, the economy, the language of Australia. And another requirement would be that you must have the intention to live in Australia or maintain a lasting link with Australia while overseas. So if you will be granted an Australian citizenship, Then you must also show that you have the intention to live in Australia after the grant. Now, let's proceed with the residency requirement. At the time of the application, the applicant must be living in Australia on a valid visa for the past 4 years. Now, in these 4 years, you must be a holder of a permanent resident visa for the past 12 months. So what would be the perfect example to this? The perfect example would be those who are holders of partner visa, um, 820-801-309-100. So they enter Australia not on a permanent visa but on a provisional visa. And then while they are in Australia, they will be eligible for the stage 2. And if they have been granted that visa and then they are inside Australia for at least 1 year on that stage 2 visa, then they will be eligible for the this requirement that states a permanent resident for the past 12 months. So if they come here in Australia not on a PR visa, or they're still not yet a PR or a permanent resident, and they have their permanent resident visa has been granted for at least a year at the time of the application, then they can comply with this criteria. So 1 year as a PR or a permanent resident visa holder, and with a total of 4 years living inside Australia. So they can be on a provisional visa or any types of visas. The minimum requirement as a holder of a permanent resident visa is only for 12 months. And the other requirement is must have been away from Australia for no more than 12 months in total in the past 4 years, including no more than 90 days in total in the past 12 months. So the example is if you are in Australia on a partner visa and during your provisional visa, you went out of Australia, you went to your home country, and then you come back. And then on another year, you went out to Australia, and then you come back, and then that should be all right, provided that it is for no more than 12 months in total in the past 4 years, including no more than 90 days in total in the past 12 months. Now, what are the exemptions to the residency requirement? This includes if the applicant is under 16 years old, and second, if the applicant is born to a former Australian citizen who lost their citizenship before April 4, 2002. Now let's proceed with the character requirement. Now, what is the definition of good character? Good character is the enduring moral qualities of a person. Now, the applicant should be or is likely to uphold and obey the laws of Australia and meet the other commitments made through the Citizenship Pledge. So these are just some criteria that you need to satisfy, uphold and obey the laws of Australia, and meet the other commitments made through the Citizenship Pledge. Now, what are the other considerations for the requirement of character? That would be, number 1, any recorded criminal convictions. Number 2, court obligations in Australia or overseas or in your home country. Third, association with people of concern. Fourth, incidents of reported domestic violence. And also whether applicant have been honest in his or her dealings with the Australian community, including providing false or misleading information in relation to a visa or a citizenship application. So example would be if you have provided a fake document then that has a bearing to your character. Any recorded criminal convictions, if you have killed somebody, if you committed theft or any crime under Australian criminal laws, such as burglary, homicide, then that has a bearing to your citizenship application because of this requirement, character. Now, knowledge of Australia. This is also one of the important requirement. In fact, applicants must pass the citizenship test. To assess the knowledge of the applicant, they will be required to undergo citizenship test. At the time of the appointment, they must show a basic knowledge of the English language, an understanding of what it means to become an Australian citizen, an adequate knowledge of Australia and responsibilities and privileges of the citizen, and an understanding and commitment to Australian values based on freedom, respect, and equality. And the minimum requirement score is 75% and must answer all 5 questions on Australian values for them to be eligible to comply with the citizenship test or the knowledge requirement. Now, what about the language requirement? Language requirement is also important because inside Australia, they use English as the medium of communication. So the requirement is only basic knowledge of the English language. You need not be proficient. You need not be so good. The only requirement is basic knowledge. And it's stated in the website that the English is the national language. Communicating in English helps to live a full life in Australia. And in relation to citizenship tests, not all need to take the written exam. Some applicants may be required only to undergo an interview. And in an interview, that is where you show how good you are in using English in your communication with the interviewer or the assessor. And the interview will show that you have understand what it means to become an Australian citizen and have an adequate knowledge of the responsibilities and privileges of an Australian citizenship. Now, aside from the English requirement, you must also establish that you have a close and continuing link to Australia. Now, what are the examples to this? First, a child, if you have a child who is an Australian citizen. Second, a partner or a spouse who is an Australian citizen and your time of living together. Third would be extended family in Australia. Fourth, the time you have spent in Australia. Fifth, bank account. Sixth, job. Seventh, paid income tax. And also, last, your property in Australia. And then last for this slide, the grounds for this approval. Now, what are the common reasons why a citizenship applicant did not receive an approval? First is if the department is not satisfied with the applicant's identity, which is assessed from birth. Second, when proceedings for an offense against an Australian law are pending. So if there is a case filed against you in Australia, when it is less than 2 years since applicant is released from prison after serving a prison sentence of 12 months or more, or 10 years if the applicant is a repeat offender. Subject to certain conditions set by Australian court, such as being released on parole, good behavior, or bail, where action may be taken against the applicant for breach of those conditions, or if the applicant is in prison or in a psychiatric institution by order of the court at the time of the decision. Now, those are the criminal offenses. Another one would be if the applicant is assessed as a risk to the security of Australia. For example, he is connected with terrorist groups and Another one would be citizenship application will not be approved if the applicant ceased to be an Australian citizen in the past 12 months. So that could also be a ground for disapproval. And last would be if the applicant is outside Australia. Generally, there are exceptions to that, but let's just limit our discussion to our topic about the location of the applicant at the time of the decision. At the time of the decision, the applicant must be inside Australia. So I hope I have shared you the common requirements for Australian citizenship by Conferral. So thank you for your time and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
If you have dream, chase for it. Simulan mo nang abutin. Make it happen. Come on and study Australia with AMVPS. Let's make your future bright with AMVPS. Legal migration, education, pangarap ay maabot na. AMVPS, ang kasama mo.
One of the best feelings in life is having moments with the ones you love, even if you're far away from each other. Despite being 1,000 miles apart, our feelings haven't changed. Being beside you is a wish that I've long desired. With professional help, the long wait is over. Bridge the gap with Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions. You can study, work, or live in Australia. With the help of our experts, you can fix your migration and visa application efficiently. Now, love doesn't have to be distant. Call us now.